Thank you, Gail. I'm going to try to be very brief because I think the important part in tonight's discussion is hearing comments and questions from the public. And a lot of what I'm going to say, I think Ron said and Cindy said, and it was really to sort of talk about the town's planning and zoning. I'm not going to go into an in-depth study of that. We're not going to do a boot camp of planning and zoning. But I did want everybody to be aware of that for approximately 50 years in the town's master plan and in its zoning, we've addressed the various development needs of the institutions in Princeton. So this is nothing new, and periodically we update that. In 2009, the Planning Board undertook a major review of all educational institutions and the university in particular, and as Ron indicated, we developed a number of principles to guide the growth of those educational institutions. Copies of the master plan section dealing with those uses and are in the land use element that was mailed out to both council and the full planning board. It's available online on the township webpage through the master plan, the land use element, and it's pages 26 through 44. We also have 8 specific zones that regulate the use, the height, the bulk, the setback locations of each building. For just the university alone, there are a few other educational zones for some of the secondary schools as well. And I wanted to emphasize, as you look at the planning document we have, that it really is meant to be a policy guide for the future growth. And we've worked with the university in the past on doing that. The zoning does get a little bit more specific, but it's really been our master plan that sort of guided these types of discussions. And I just wanted to emphasize, similar to what you heard today, the master plan talks about new development that's near the downtown. It needs to not only be good for the university, it needs to enhance the economic vitality of the downtown. And as we think about some of these new strategies that the university is talking about, we need to be aware of that and think about how do we improve the downtown. The master plan does speak to edges or transition areas. What that really means is wherever the university or any educational institution in town abuts a residential neighborhood, we need to pay particular attention to what's going on there, what the buffers are, what the setbacks are, what the height is. And we've done that in a number of cases. Most recently, probably for the Arts and Transit. Another case was the E3 up against Murray Place, where both the university and the town and the neighbors all work together to balance the needs. And I think in general, most people are happy with the end results. We note that our zoning must take into account the scale, mass, and the bulk of these educational buildings. We think we've done that with the 8 zones that we do have in place. We have one that was not mentioned, which is we also have a consideration for property tax implications. When an institution takes property off of the tax rolls or when it can put it on the tax rolls, those are something that we need to have discussions with and keep in mind as we prepare our next master plan. We also talk about reducing traffic impacts, specifically on Nassau Street and the community at large, and I'm glad to hear that the university also sees that as important. We've encouraged the use of transit and TDM, transportation demand management, and the university has been doing that all along. You've seen that with their bus system that's moving forward. What you probably don't see are some of the transportation demand management that the university is doing that we've encouraged them to do, such as van pooling and ride sharing and transit check, where they subsidize people taking mass transit into the campus. Recently in 2009, we did add something about housing, not just graduate or undergraduate, but dealing with for faculty, staff, and for the community, and providing a range of housing. Most recently in the MX zone, which is where Merrick Stanworth is, we did require a 20% set aside for affordable housing, and the university did comply, and we're looking to partner with them on more sites where we can provide more affordable housing and a range of housing in the community. We also call for the preservation of the built-in natural environment, and you've seen how they've already begun to take that into account. In the last master plan, our master plan, and there is talk specifically about maintaining the pedestrian orientation of the campus. We think that's important for a lot of our goals to be able to be reached, preserving the park-like feeling of their campus, maintaining an open campus, and again, we heard the university talk about that, but I think we need to continue to think about those type of things as we move ahead, that we have asked them to build in an environmentally responsible way, and you can hear tonight that that's where they are deeply committed, as well as sustaining strong community relations. I think this meeting tonight, and I'm hopeful that we'll have a series of discussions as they get more specific with some of their building proposals as to how that does or does not fit into the community at all. With that, I think I'm going to stop. Gail, I'll turn it back to you, and you lay out the ground rules for comments and questions.
Yes, we're going to start, and I expect everybody has some of both comments and questions, but we're going to start with